It was called Operation Deep Freeze, and tonight a 5 on Your Side investigation reveals it may have exposed thousands to radiation. On Your Side Chief Investigator Ron Regan joins us tonight with a report that's getting the attention of top officials in Washington.
Well, Danita, it's already getting results, but first, what did an estimated 15,000 share in common that's now suspected of slowly poisoning them with radiation? Our investigation begins here in Ohio with a deathbed request for answers. It's music her husband loved most, soothing, comforting. Charlie Sweeney battled cancer for 16 years.
He had over 200 tumors in his body. He was just filled at that point.
200.
Over.
And our investigation found others across the country, all Navy veterans who either died or are fighting cancer, and all shared one thing.
He started thinking, this isn't right. This is, this isn't right at all. Why, why are there so many in our close group getting sick like this?
They all served at McMurdo Station, a U.S. Navy base in Antarctica in the 60s and 70s. And it was powered by this, a portable nuclear plant. Jim Landy's cancer spread from his stomach to his esophagus and his liver to his brain.
I believe it was a greater risk than what we all assumed.
The investigation took us from California to North Carolina and Wisconsin all the way to the Gulf of Mexico. We found Jim Landy here in Pensacola, Florida, and he too is dying of cancer.
At one time, I heard the siren. Something happened up there, but we weren't made aware of it.
In fact, we found 438 malfunctions from 1964 through 1972. The Navy's final operating report also found leaking water surrounding the reactor and hairline cracks in the reactor liner as early as 1964. It was finally shut down in 1972 and later dismantled when possible stress corrosion cracking in the piping system was discovered.
I was amazed at how many times they had malfunctions. We didn't have an accident, we had a malfunction.
The same report found contaminated soil was loaded into dump trucks, hauled away uncovered, and loaded onto cargo ships for disposal in the United States.
And then I got thinking about all that excavated soil passing through town and clouds of dust from all this stuff. And I'm going, gee whiz. Did it give me cancer?
Still, the report concluded no significant increase in radiation exposure. Jim Chalk lives in Wisconsin. He had testicular cancer.
It kind of makes you wonder. When the doctor saw me, he kind of scratched his head and said, "You're kind of old to be having testicular cancer."
And later survived lung cancer.
One person would pop up and then, "Oh, did you hear about Wally? He died from lung cancer or throat cancer. And did you hear about so-and-so? They had a brain tumor. And did you hear about so-and-so? They had testicular cancer."
In North Carolina, Bob Boyles battled thyroid cancer.
The first thing the doctor asked me was, well, that's the type of cancer you typically get from exposure to radiation. He says, when were you exposed to radiation?
Boyles remembers questioning a supervisor while they disposed of the plant's equipment.
I asked him, I said, well, is it safe for us? And he goes, yes, it's safe. Just don't go over in that area over there because we're not sure about that. We think that might still be a little dangerous.
But our investigation found that for years, veterans' complaints about possible radiation exposure have fallen on deaf ears. From Idaho, Carl Sackman sent this 2002 letter to the VA saying it was common knowledge that leaks occurred. So did Wally Glennon in South Carolina. His widow saved his letter to the VA, pleading for help.
The only common factor was a nuclear power plant at McMurdo Station, Antarctica. I would hope that a thorough investigation is underway to determine if the facility in Antarctica in any way could have caused the health problems of myself and my shipmates.
Both men died of cancer, and all of the men we spoke with want answers.
Some haven't even been identified. What about the other people that were down there? How big does this ripple go?
And back home in Ohio, Charlie Swinney died bankrupt. The VA denied his repeated disability claims.
He felt like he was kicked to the curb. He felt like he didn't count. He felt betrayed, actually.
Well, we contacted the Navy that continues to insist no personnel exceeded the federal or naval exposure limits for radiation.
Well, Ron, these families, they still want answers. I got to ask you, what does the Veterans Administration say about your investigation?
Well, our investigation has gone all the way to the top of the VA. The Undersecretary for Policy thanked News Channel 5 for our reporting and told us tonight it's committed to ensuring that all those who may have been exposed at McMurdo Station receive the maximum care and benefits they're entitled to. And our investigation has also reached the Senate Veterans Affairs Committee, and Senator Sherrod Brown promises to take action there. We're going to have more on that at 6 o'clock, and you can find more on newsnet5.com.
Ron, another great job. Thank you very much. An exclusive 5 on Your Side investigation tonight has turned up classified government documents and new revelations about a leaking nuclear power plant. It comes in the wake of an ongoing Defense Department investigation prompted by our original report last March. Chief Investigator Ron Regan joins us with new links to Navy veterans dying of cancer.
Well, it's an investigation that just keeps getting bigger. It's all in this government report that few have ever seen until now. Inside, it reveals the United States Navy knew of radiation leaks, but continued to expose veterans who were stationed nearby. Last week, those same veterans met for their first reunion in years. Along with memories, many share something else.
He said, well, he got cancer.
This is renal cancer.
When I went to the doctor, he said it's a different cancer, and it's at a different location.
Ed Wentling has twice been diagnosed with cancer.
That's where I breathe right here. That's the only breathing thing I got.
During the 60s and 70s, Wentling and veterans he hasn't seen in years served here at McMurdo Station, Antarctica. And just up the hill, they could see what was then known as one of the Navy's first portable nuclear reactors. How close were you to the nuclear plant?
Right at the bottom of the hill.
It's the very same hill where radioactive material made its way down to the men. According to this Veterans Administration document we first showed you last March. And at this reunion with his Navy squadron that served at McMurdo, the list of veterans suspecting the reactor may have caused their cancer continues to grow.
Last night, like I said, I found out that 3 of us at the same time, and 2 of us lived in that same mud, all come down with multiple cancers.
Our 5 on Your Side investigation was the first to reveal a possible link. In March, we reported the plant had a history of breakdowns. They were contained in this final operating report, completed after it was shut down for good in 1973. It found 438 malfunctions from 1964 through 1973 and 123 reports of radiation exposure in excess of allowable limits. Now, we've uncovered new evidence. Those malfunctions began shortly after the plant was brought online in 1962, a full 2 years earlier.
Well, it's kind of shocking. Why didn't they let us know that we'd been exposed? You know, the Navy's good about keeping things quiet.
Jim Baines talking about this government report that veterans never knew about until we showed them. It was prepared for the Navy after the plant was first shut down in November 1964. It reveals widespread defects in the reactor core.
I would like to know, yes, I would like to know what caused this. If that was it, then somebody should answer for covering it up.
The report found 30 cracks in the reactor core containing highly enriched uranium-235, a fuel leak of undetermined origin, and increasing radiation levels in the primary coolant. It had been operating for just 2.5 years when it was replaced with another.
Do you believe that plant played a role in your cancer?
Absolutely. 77-year-old Hoot Hartman served at McMurdo in 62 and 63 when the trouble first started.
I remember the sirens going off, and we were told that that was a scramble signal, that they was having a problem. We never had instruction on what to do, or, you know, to go anywhere, or where could you hide anyway.
Hartman had kidney cancer and now was battling cancer in both lungs and his lymph nodes.
Being a career Navy person, I didn't really ever suspect that my government would shoot me in the back.
This Navy film documents the plant being built and tested. We found it in the library of the International Atomic Energy Agency in Vienna. Tom Elder remembers a close friend who worked here inside, describing how devices called dosimeters that measure radiation were often ignored.
He said, oh, we just threw our dosimeters away. They're no good. They're maxed out the minute you walk in within 30 minutes. So they kept a spare dosimeter outside. And then when they come out, the corpsman would check them for radiation. He checks your meter. If you're over, you can't go back in. So they just throw that one away and get a new one, put it on and walk back out.
And this happened?
Yes.
Regularly?
Every day.
Now, decades later, what happened here at McMurdo is finally being investigated at the top levels of the Defense Department, and veterans may finally get answers.
My days are numbered, so I hope they find out something and compensate appropriately so my spouse can at least benefit a little bit from what I had to go through, unknowingly be exposed to.
And as a result of our investigation, the Navy has now turned over classified documents to the Veterans Administration. It has also turned over the names of 109 veterans so the VA can evaluate them. And because of evidence raised in our report, the VA is now encouraging all those who served at McMurdo to apply for possible compensation for their cancers, even if they've been denied before. And you can check out newsnet5.com for much more video of that plant being built and tested.
Well, Ron, you were at the reunion, and I'm sure that they're very grateful for the work that you have done. And how do they feel that finally their story is being told and something may happen?
Well, it was poignant, it was heartbreaking, and to see these men finally get some attention, it's gratifying, and we're going to keep on the story.
All right, good job, Ron, as always. Thank you.